The All Progressives Congress, that is the ruling party as we call it in Nigeria, has seen its own fair share of internal conflict, whether it was before the general election of 2023 or just right after the election. As a matter of fact, till today, the ruling party is still grappling with dissenting voices within its fold. Some of them saying they are not pleased with developments within the party. And that's, amongst other things, it raises questions as to what exactly could be wrong within the leading, as they say, is the biggest party in Africa. We're yet to have that conversation. But the APC is the ruling party in Nigeria as of today. And one would have thought for a party that came out victorious following the 2023 general election, particularly in light of the presidential election, the victory that came with the presidential election, the party will become more cohesive and, of course, face the future with one voice. But that doesn't seem to have been the case for the most part. It is either the national chairman of the party is being suspended from his own ward, or you have some elements within the party who say they are dissatisfied with certain happenings within their fold. How can the ruling party teach Nigerians that charity begins at home and then extend that to the national front? I'm joined by Chief Chibuna Ubawike, is a politician and a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress. He's here to help us find sense in this conversation. It's a delight to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
You know, last time you were here, we were talking about the national chairman of your party, Dr. Umar Ganduje, and we talked about several of the issues he also was facing, and then how that could impact the party and even ultimately Nigeria, because you can't have a ruling party whose activities don't affect the country. That's not possible. But today it will appear that in itself has taken a whole new turn. I don't want us to go into all of that because of the judicial elements in it. But let's talk about Matawale, the immediate past governor of Zamfara State. Many people say, look, we love and respect this man because he has never hidden his support for the president. In fact, he's one of the few people who make the president's job easier. He roots for the president, he supports the president, he protects the president, whether it's by the work he does or by his rhetorics and all of that. But now, his own problem is not even within the APC as we know it, is from home. Even though some people say they see the fingers of some disgruntled elements, as your party will call them, of the APC now trying to cause trouble for the former Zamfara State governor. What's your sense about that?
The issue of Zamfara predates this within the political actors in Zamfara State. And like I keep saying, in partisan politics, especially the one we play in Africa, when I contest power, in jostling for power, and one is defeated, usually the one that is defeated does not take it lightly. He will always be looking for an opportunity to bring down the victorious person, and that is what we have seen playing out in Zamfara State. In any given political party, it is a place where we have various interests, various tendencies, and a tendency or interest that feels it is not well accommodated will always want to rock the boat. It is a human element. APC is not an exception. Every political party in Nigeria today is having one internal issue or the other arising from some that lost out of the power equation, fighting back. But it's an internal thing. It will be resolved using the internal mechanism set out for conflict resolution in the party. We don't have problem as a political party, but some individuals who feels maybe they should have one thing or the other and are not getting it. They want to raise their voices. It is not like that. It is a problem. It will be taken care of. It will be solved.
I need to ask you this. When political parties go into the election, they make promises, and they say those promises emanate from their manifesto. And then after election, you see governors who won election on the platform of this party or parties. You see even local government chairmen, of course, in some cases, most cases, legislators, whether state or federal. They're doing things that are obviously contrary to the promises made prior to election. Do political parties, yours in this case in particular, have mechanism? Do they intentionally and deliberately, consciously monitor what kind of governance the members of their party provide?
They do, but one thing you should understand is that when one is elected, especially at the level of the governor, he has an immunity. The deputy governor, the president, the vice president, they enjoy immunity.
From being arrested or prosecuted?
From being arrested and prosecuted, but they can be investigated.
Right.
Then, remember we are practicing a federation. The subnationals, the states, they have their, what I would call a quasi-autonomy. Because there are things that it is they're working to devolve more powers to them. They operate on their own because we are practicing a federation. So when one is elected, the party will do all they need to do to ensure that its manifesto is implemented. The campaign promises of the candidate is implemented. But the character of individuals comes to play. I don't know whether you get me. The character of individuals comes to play. When you do what you are supposed to do as a party, and the person fails to, carry it out wholesale and, diligently as it's supposed to be, there is little or nothing you can do so that you don't rock the boat of governance. You try to keep providing, advices.
So you allow sleeping dogs lie.
You provide advices, advise the person, provide direction, tell him the implications of what he's doing, the negative implications, because every governor wants to go for a second term.
Does your party do that?
Yes, my party does that. Provide the person direction, advise him, appropriately on, what he or she should do to ensure he delivers good governance to his constituents. In this case, the state or the local government, as the case may be. If the person fails to do that, you see in most cases, some people are denied return tickets.
By the party?
By the party. Those are the cases, some things like that, because that is the only way you can deal with him, because he failed to carry out the manifesto or program.
Not because he failed to serve his godfathers.
No. In most cases, you see that the person is denied, second-term ticket because of things like that. We are evolving democratically by His grace, and as time goes on, these things will be done, wholesale on a macro level. Everybody will feel it.
I'm asking that because the case of Yahaya Bello became so embarrassing, not just for Nigerians, or for young politicians as it were, because when he came into office, they said, well, we have a youth as a governor now. This will change the narrative for the better. And it was around that time the conversation around not too young to run became very intense and all of that. But 8 years down the line, he's out of office, and anti-corruption agency, the EFCC, says we're looking for this man for alleged misappropriation. Some people say outright theft of 80 billion. Of course, it's still an allegation because he needs to have his day in courts and all of that. So it makes you wonder, where was the APC, the ruling party, the whole time all of this was going on? So bad that the EFCC had to write to his children's school to say you have to refund $720,000 that had been paid in advance by this man. And you go to Kogi State, you look at that state, and you look at the amount this man is alleged to have taken, and you are lost for words. So did the party not see all of this coming?
One thing I want to do, I would not want to comment on Yahaya Bello's matter because it is in court, so it will not sound subjudiced. But let me just say this. A governor is in charge of the treasury of his state, not my party. How he spends the resources of the state, the money or whatever, is not the business of my party. My party does not go into the books of the state. It is not their duty. The party is just the vehicle through which you got to your destination of assessing power. And they leave you to face your... You dispense the power that you've been given judiciously. That's why they provide guidelines, manifesto, and whatever. And when they see you go in and say you are advised on what you should do, the advice is not brought to the public domain. There are channels to pass those information and advice to the person concerned. Now, how he utilizes the resources of his state is his own business, because he will be the person that will be called to question, to account for how, to give his account for stewardship. like the case you cited. My party will not know how this money was taken here, that money. They are not investigators and they are not spirits. So it is the person that is elected that is saddled with the responsibility of providing good governance, and he fails to do so. When he finishes his tenure, the security agency is saddled with the responsibility of investigating the finances of state. We'll call the person to come and account for how he, expended the resources of the state. That is just the...
Are there people in your party right now, at whatever level, who feel President Bola Tinubu does not protect them enough because they feel the EFCC in particular is harassing senior members, top members, some of them foundational members of your party? I mean, they would have thought the president would maybe throw his weight around a little in their favor.
Well, if there are members who feel like that, I do not know. But what I am sure of and what I do know is that the law is not a respect of anybody.
Including the president? Including
himself. So if you run foul of the law and you run into the party to get protection, I don't think the party will protect you, and I don't think Mr. President will protect you, because he is a believer in the rule of law, and they want the law to take its course so that things will be done rightly. I don't know whether you get me. See, if any member of my party, which I don't know, I have not heard about any, and I don't know of any, feels that he's not being protected from the hands of the security agency, he must have done something that made the security agencies to look after him. So the best thing and the most honorable thing to do is to go to them, answer them, clear yourself. I don't know whether you get me. They will not just hand you to court or prison. They will conduct investigation. They will interrogate you. If you give answers that are satisfactory and they are okay with it, nothing will happen. They let you go. But if they find that there are more explanations you need to give and that you've run foul of the law in the course of doing this, doing that, you should go and explain.
Earlier this year, the APC, your party, in Edo State conducted primary election for its governorship aspirants for the 21st September governorship election in that state. And it didn't end well because there had to be a repeat of that election and a different candidate emerged. Meanwhile, after the first, arising from the first primary election, two candidates emerged, announced by two different officers from your party. But today we know that issue, for the most part, has been laid to rest. But go to Ondo. Primary election had just been concluded. Ayedatiwa, the incumbent governor, was said to have been announced the winner of the primary. Now, INEC says we're not comfortable with that. We're not buying that primary election that was conducted. Has the APC learned its lesson?
Coming from the Do issue, the primary was conducted and there was an issue. And the party said there should be a rerun. They had a rerun of the primaries and a candidate emerged. Every other contending forces, accepted the result. You understand me? So in this Ondo issue that came up, I've read that INEC said they did not monitor most of these things.
And as such, it is null and void and of no.
So my party will know what to do. They will know what to do to make sure that there is no rancor and that a candidate is freely elected to fly the party's flags in the Ondo November 2024 election.
I've spoken with some members of your party off camera, and some of them are genuinely expressing the fear that your party may be losing traction because of these inconsistencies in processes, especially as it has to do with primary election and the processes that throw people up for elective positions. What's your sentiment about that? My
party is made up of 10 individuals. That's one thing you should understand. And most of them have mounting ambitions. Right, as I and you are, if I'm ambitious to run for a position and you are, and I believe I have done so much to win the ticket, and at the end of the day it did not go my way, I will not be happy. I want to do one or two things to upstage, the system, but when superior reasons prevails, I will calm down. I don't know whether you understand. All I want my party to do always is to ensure that. And they have been doing it. Things are done properly, but you cannot assuage everybody's feelings. You cannot satisfy everybody at the same time, especially when contest for partisan power is involved. And a loser will always be aggrieved. But there are mechanisms to address such issues. Where you have individuals of high quantity and quality in a group, there are bound to be clash of interest. That is what is happening in my party. but they will address it as we go ahead. You will find out that in the Ondo district, we will feed a candidate that will be generally accepted by everybody.
That's interesting, because for Ondo, for example, I'm going to bring it back to Edo State in a minute, but for Ondo, for example, people are saying that your party members, particularly those ones on the ground who are influential in Ondo politics, are split between, in terms of loyalty, the late Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu and Ayedatiwa. How much does that impact the outcome and the prospects of APC in this election?
The last time I was here, I told you that there is an adage in my place that the goat follows whoever is carrying the palm fronds.
So who has the palm fronds?
For now, Ayedatiwa is carrying the palm fronds. So but let's see how it plays out. I believe the Ondo issue will be resolved by my party in the most peaceful way and in the most satisfactory way that every dramatist personnel will accept. Let's see how it goes.
Let's go to Edo now. In July of 2020, Obaseki moved from your party, the APC, to the PDP for obvious reasons, and he's been there for almost 4 years now. And then there's an election there in a few months. Your party is feeding Senator Monday Okpebolo, a man who came from the private sector, has been in politics for a while as well. And there are complaints about him that he's not very outspoken about his vision for the state and so on and so forth. Maybe that's a conversation for later. But for now, let's look at what the reality is. I mean, the optics as well. Obaseki has been in the PDP for almost 4 years, and he's been there as the governor of the state. He's the incumbent. And he's advancing a gentleman called Aswen Ighodalo, somebody who has cut his teeth in the corporate world, has deep pockets, as they say, and things like Obaseki as well. Many persons have told me. Your party, on the other hand, has not been in power in the state for a while. Obaseki is the incumbent, so there's the power of the incumbency, as you people call it in politics. What's the, if you like, competitive advantage of the APC in this election? Is it federal might you're banking on?
My party in Edo State is going to coast home to victory. We are taking over Dennis Osadebe House in Benin. My party is going to win the election fair and square. We are fielding the most qualified candidate. Both the candidate, the governorship candidate and his deputy are the most qualified. Besides, politics is local. When you don't have grassroots support, no matter how they import you, you will not make any impact. You will not win the election.
Yeah, but people say Obaseki was also imported, and yet he won in 2016.
Something happened because my party was the ruling party at that time. But the situation has changed, not the same thing again. Even in his own party in PDP, they are leaving him in droves. I don't know whether you understand. So there is serious crack in PDP. Even if the PDP were together, my party is going to coast home to victory. But now we have an advantage. We are feeding a grassroots person, a most qualified person who knows and the problems of Edo and who keeps to his word. You will see what will happen in the election. We are going to coast home to victory. The candidate of the PDP that the person Obaseki brought that made PDP in Edo to disintegrate, I sympathize with him.
Why?
He's not on the ground. He's not a politician. I was told he doesn't even know how to speak his language.
But some people say that's not the criteria for leading.
No, you cannot. Me, I am an Igbo man. From my place where I am from, Imo State, where I speak my local dialect. I speak other, we have Central Igbo, right? Then each clan have their
something peculiar.
Thank you very much. I am on the ground. I am on the ground. I'm a leader in my ward. I am one of the leaders in my local government. In my state. I don't know whether you get me. So it is not that I just came from nowhere. No. I don't know. Politics is local. You must have that local support. That's your base. Has he voted in Edo before?
Well, he says he votes in Edo.
He says he votes in Edo. Okay, if he has. Okay, let's watch and see. If he votes in Edo, why doesn't he speak his language? Which language does he need to communicate with his people? Well, I don't want to discuss him. What I'm saying is that my party is on the ground in Edo State. This election, you are going to see what will happen. We are everywhere. We are winning the election fair and square. You will see it will be a moonslide victory, not even landslide victory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But what's probably more interesting is the fact that this is 2024. Your party seems to be having conversations around 2027 already. We have barely even survived the economic challenges we're dealing with as a country this year. Is it not too early to have that conversation?
My party is not having any conversation about 2027. There is not, that I know officially, there is not. Individuals are talking about 2027, not my party. we are just barely 1 year in the in power in this new regime. We still have 3 years to dispense good governance to Nigerians. We have not finished with it. But one thing I want you to note is that election starts immediately an election has ended. We conclude an election now, a national election now. The preparation for next election starts the next day. That is how it is done. You make your moves and do whatever you are doing. Ensure that you reach out to people, give the people, that's the electorates that you come to serve. You make sure you dispense good governance to them, so that if you are coming back next time, they will be able to look at your good works and vote for you again.
Labour is saying, look, we're asking for 615,000 minimum wage. Of course, as they say in business, that appears to be asking price. But ultimately, Labour is not going to stay with this issue around 60,000, 30,000 naira minimum wage. It's very obvious. And Labour is saying, if the needful is not done by the end of this month of May, we're shutting down the nation, we're shutting down the economy and all of that. Has your party been fair to Labour in terms of dialogue and interaction? My
party has been very, very fair to Labour. Very, very fair to Labour. They provided, what we call it, wage award. Wage award. They provided palliatives. Something about salary increment is not taken over the counter. You look at the receipts of the nation. You look at the expenditure. This increment I'm going to make, what can we afford it? Then you look at the inflationary effect. If I accept to pay you 1 million naira and I cannot afford it, it gets to that time I cannot pay you. What have I done? So there are a lot of things that have to be put into consideration. That is why the government, in their wisdom, set up a tripartite, committee to look at these issues holistically. All the parties involved, sit down, tell me what you want. Let us look at it. I earn 5 million naira a month, and out of this 5 million, look at the expenditures to be made. Then it will remain so and so amount. If I give you, out of the 5 million, I pay you 3 million. The remaining 2 million will not be enough to service the needs of the nation. So let us be realistic in the demands we make. You say 615,000 naira. Can Nigeria afford to pay labor 615,000 naira? And remember, when you increase the minimum wage, there's also consequential adjustments across board.
Inflation too.
Inflation. So these are things that are to be put together and arrive at something realistic, feasible, practicable, and implementable. We don't want to, because we feel we are in a position to call people out to go on strike, they want to use it against the government when our demands are not realistic. No, government have assured them on during the Workers' Day celebration that the minimum wage will take effect from 1st of May. They are working around the clock to ensure they finish their negotiations, arrive at a minimum wage that will be acceptable and implementable. And remember, every state does not earn same revenue. Some states are very rich, some are poor. And state governors are saying, because they are involved in this tripartite committee, what they can afford to pay. So you will not dispense or spend all the resources of the state on the payment of salary while provision of infrastructure and the other economic sectors suffer. No, you must balance it. We should be realistic in our demands.
Okay, I'm going to let you off now, but just after this one question. As of today, there are concerns about the whereabouts of President Bola Tinubu. Of course, I'm not naive enough to think Nigerians will vote for the president, but is it not disturbing that in 2024, citizens will be scratching their heads as to the whereabouts of their president?
Why would they be scratching their heads about the whereabouts of their president? Is governance not going on? Governance is going on.
So we're back to the era of
Mr. President missing? No, he's not missing. Mr. President is very much around.
Okay. So I'm going to leave you on that note. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Chief Chibuna Oba-Wike, politician and APC chieftain, for making our time to come on the program.
Thank you very much.
That's what we're leaving it with the program today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow, Jomai and Anthony Momodu will be here on Global Morning. On behalf of Queen, myself, and the entire production team here at Global Television Abuja, we say we're grateful for your time with us. Have a great day.
Thank you.